Hey folks, how's it going? Hope you guys can see me and hear me. I'm Ross Shain with Boris, and I'm super excited to have you guys attend this webinar with us. I'll also like to introduce to you my friend Mary Poplin. Hopefully you guys can see Mary's cam as well.
Hi guys.
Hey Mary, how's it going this morning?
It's going great, Ross. How's it going with you?
It's going pretty good. So yeah, we're gonna kick it off here. I just want to point out a couple things about the webinar. Again, we're really excited to have you guys here, and we know you're taking time out of your day. So, thanks for joining us. Um, Basically, we're going to be doing this webinar in sort of a presentation mode, but Mary is going to be online answering questions, and you can use the little question area that's there in your um, GoToWebinar panel, and we'll definitely try to get back to you with questions. And if there's really interesting questions, Mary will jump in and interrupt me, my spiel, and we'll answer them in real time. Um, Really, really thankful for our partners today. We have some really awesome prizes. Mary, do you see the Foundry kicked in the full production suite? That's a very
That's
cool
amazing.
prize. Yeah, so that's a new Marimoto 1-year license. Our friends at Avid giving away Media Composer. Um,
Wow.
SGO Mystica. So for those who aren't working in 360, there's a company called SGO that makes a product called Mystica, and they came out with a product in the last 1.5 to 2 years called Mystica VR, which is an excellent 360 stitching application. So they kicked in a prize there. Obviously, our team at Boris Effects, we're giving away a full suite of all the products, Mocha Continuum and Sapphire. And our friends at Action Effects are giving away some cool basically stock for visual effects. They have some really cool products as well. So I'd like
I
to
just
thank all the presenters. Andy, you do have to stay for the whole webinar if you want to win the prize. Okay. People always ask us about these webinars. Can I view this tomorrow? Yes, we are recording the webinar and we will share it on all our social channels. Probably, I don't know, it usually takes about 24 hours to get back up online. Also excited to share with you a little discount code. You could go to the Boris Effects web shop, and basically with the discount code WebOct18, you can see that there'll be 50% off anything on the Boris Effects website. That will last through the month. So that's exclusive for these, for if you're viewing this video right now. Again, that's a coupon code, and Mary can paste it into the chat as well.
yeah, it totally will.
Okay, cool. So what we're going to talk about in this webinar is Mocha Pro 2019. Most of you here who are attending probably have a good idea of what Mocha is. But just to kind of reiterate what Mocha is used for, it's used for planar tracking, motion tracking. It's widely known to be a very, very powerful tracker. Can track things that go out of screen and go out of focus and basically solve difficult shots that many other tracking systems can't. It's used quite a bit for rotoscoping and masking. Mocha Pro has some advanced tools for object removal and clean plating. Obviously, stabilization, when you can track pixels, very common task is stabilizing the camera or even stabilizing actors. We do have a 3D camera solving module in Mocha Pro. And then Mocha Pro actually adds all the features that we released last year with Mocha VR. And so we're going to get into some of that. You can see on the right-hand part of my screen, our friend Jake Morrison's already been playing with Mocha Pro 2019, has some really nice things to say about it. And the software's been used quite a bit in the last 10 years in professional film, video, television, commercials. Next thing I want to talk a little bit about is the actual products. A little bit of housekeeping here before we actually get into the demonstration. So there's a link there, that brand new link on our website where you can compare the products. A lot of people know about Mocha through Mocha AE, which is bundle free in Adobe After Effects. I mean, Mary, how often do you go on site and or at a trade show and people say, "Yeah, I know Mocha," but it's the only features they know are the ones in After Effects.
Yeah, all the time. Absolutely all the time.
Yeah, so Mocha for After Effects, which is an excellent program. Again, it comes free. We've been bundled since CS4. It's a planar tracking and masking application for After Effects. I do want to make the point that it only works with After Effects. So if you're, working with Nuke or Flame or Avid or different or even Premiere, the data is pretty much limited to After Effects. And you basically copy and paste the data from After Effects from Mocha AE into After Effects. We also have a bundle relationship with the guys at HitFilm, which is a really cool visual effects tool, kind of more targeted for prosumers and YouTubers, but it's very, very powerful. And again, that's really limited to the HitFilm crowd. In the last 2 years, since we've kind of merged with Boris Effects and the guys at GenArts, the Sapphire team, or we're all under one company now, we've added a light version of Mocha into Sapphire and Continuum plugins. This very, very powerful again, but this is used mostly to isolate effects. Mocha Pro, which we're going to talk about today, has a lot more features for advanced compositing and specifically the ability to render. So some of the things that we can render are object removals, stabilization. We can also render 360 VR elements, like we have a new reorient module, masking, and obviously object removal for 360 is a really big thing. Also just want to point out that Mocha Pro can export to almost any other software out there on the market. So very, very popular in the new crowd or in the Flame crowd, and to get the data out into different applications. So I just wanted to point out that, these questions always come up in these webinars, what the difference is between all these products. So I just want to make sure you guys see this link to this new page. Okay, so we're going to dive into the new features and stop the boring PowerPoint. But Mary, you've been using Mocha for a long time, and obviously people know you through your training. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of the new features, and what are some of your favorites?
So I really like the new features. I think my favorite new feature is definitely the magnetic tool, and the reason I like that is because Roto is, I think I've said in my demos about 1,000 times, my least favorite thing. So this actually makes Roto a lot easier. And I also like that the freehand tool allows you to get around things that are blurry. So instead of having to click and drag and move my points all around, like let's say I need to go off screen, or if I need to like draw a shape around like a garbage mat for color correction, or if I need to just basically get around something that the edge finder is having trouble with, being able to just click down and draw and get a spline is really useful.
Yeah, I really love the freehand tool myself, actually. And we're going to get into all these features: the Essentials Workspace, high DPI display. Mary's just talking about the new Roto and Spline tools. We also have a really exciting object removal. Probably one of the other cool things, I've been focusing a lot in the 360 VR market in the last couple of years. And what we've done is we've basically merged all the VR tools into Mocha Pro. So customers who own Mocha Pro, and if you bought it in the last year, you're going to get all the VR features free, which is really cool. On that note, just want to show you a quick last bit of housekeeping here before we get into it. Is everyone's going to ask, how do I get my upgrade, and who qualifies for upgrades, right? So if you've bought Mocha Pro or Mocha VR in the last year, you're going to get a free upgrade to Mocha 2019, Mocha Pro 2019, and that's really cool. We have a upgrade and support plan. It's called the UNS plan, and I would encourage you guys all to check it out. If you bought in the last year, that means you're automatically on the UNS plan. If you purchased before October 1st, 2017, then we do have an upgrade path. You can check that out on our web shop, and it's quite affordable. The free upgrade licenses are going to be rolling out over the course of the next week or so. Please be patient. We have a lot of licenses to deliver, and they will automatically be delivered to everyone who's qualified. If you need your license immediately, or if you're concerned that you're not sure, please contact us through our support line, and we'll make sure that you guys get your licenses as soon as we can. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of demo. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And okay, hopefully my webcam. Our webcams are closed. You don't have to look at our face anymore, but I'm going to get into it. Again, please feel free to use the chat line. I'm going to start here in After Effects and talk a little bit about our new Mocha Pro 2019. Everything I show you today, though, is going to be, you could run this inside of Premiere, inside of Avid, inside of OFX plugins like Nuke, like Fusion, like HitFilm, or Vegas Pro. Let's just start from scratch here. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. Mary, can you see my screen okay?
I can, yes.
Okay, excellent. So what we're going to do inside of After Effects is I'm going to go to the effects palette, and we have it's found under Boris Effects Mocha. We have Mocha Pro. You also see I have a Mocha VR as a legacy plugin. That means if I own a current version of Mocha VR when I upgrade to 2019, that my projects will properly be available to me through this legacy. So, but in general, what you're going to do is just launch Mocha Pro here. If you see in the panel here, before I actually launch the application, we've added a couple of new things here. So this is really how we can switch between different project types. We've added stereo support here to the plugin, which is pretty cool, just for normal stereo 3D. But then we've also added 360 VR formats such as mono, stereo, top, bottom, and left, right. And so if I clicked on a stereo project and launch the interface, that's how I'm going to essentially launch into all the Mocha VR features. What we're going to do is just go in. This is not 360, obviously. We're going to go ahead and launch this for a second. And now I'm in the Mocha Pro 2019 interface. We call this mode Essentials mode. And you'll see up here we have new workspaces, okay? We have our classic workspace, which everyone is probably quite used to, classic Mocha Pro workspace. And then we have different workspaces here. And I have some shortcuts here. So for example, I can switch very quickly, Control-1, Control-2 between my workspaces. And hopefully the lag on this live webinar is okay for everyone. Let's zoom out here. Now, why did we create new workspaces? Well, this is something that people over the years, they're very receptive and they love Mocha and they understand its power. But if I look at the classics workspace here, a lot of people get intimidated by this interface, or they feel like that Mocha, because they don't use it every single day, they always have to learn it over and over again. And so they kind of forget what all these different modules are down here. They also seem to forget what a lot of the icons here. What we did with the Essentials workspace is basically strip it out and make it only the necessary tools to do tracking and masking, okay? So you can see the icons are hidden here, and we just have a simple panel here on the left with all the essentials that would be found in the track panel. So if I hit play and just look at this quick product shot, sort of maybe a bread and butter kind of thing that a Mocha artist would be asked to do, is to track and maybe replace a logo, right? Typically what we would do is draw a shape, which essentially is an X-spline. And then we have our track panel here. You can see I can track just translation, scale, rotation, skew, and perspective. And so we have these little icons here to really let the user know exactly what kind of motion they want to be capturing. Our surface button, which is pretty much the most important button, is found here now. Again, if I switch to classic mode with a Control-2 there, my surface button is still, up here on the panel. But just want to kind of show you that we've hidden it in Essentials mode, that you can basically look at it here. Sorry, hidden, displayed I meant. So you have your surface there. You also have your grid just displayed right there on the panel. You have your track forwards button, so we could go ahead and just track this forward. Let's track backwards from the frame we started on. Even though this goes out of focus and is waving like that, here maybe I'll just make this a little bit smaller here. And then you can basically track like this. Once you have something tracked in Mocha, I just want to show you a couple other cool things here. Again, obviously you can show your grid. This is some new tools here that we've have people obviously know the surface tool represents the tracking area. And, I think Mary and I can both attest that a lot of customers, they always contact us and they say, well, the shape seems to be tracking right, but why is my, track not aligned properly? Well, it's all about the surface. The surface represents your track area. Okay. New tool here on the surface, just grab and move. You could also see that we've added some scale right on the surface to keep my perspective. And with a shift key, I can be zooming to keep my aspect ratio, rotate the surface tool. So this is all new just small little features there to improve the way you work on the surface. And if I wanted to, apply like a little logo here or something like that, and just look at this and zoom out with a shift 8, very quickly, we've done our track using Mocha Essentials, and you can see I did that whole track there without having to go into the classic mode. So we're pretty excited about this. A lot of people, in fact, one of our users, he calls this baby Mocha. And especially if you're using Mocha inside of Continuum or Sapphire, it's really great just to jump in here and do some quick tasks like this. Like say another quick thing is say I have my my track there, my logo track. In the Essentials panel, we did all our tracking. I could export the tracking data to any application that we've talked about, whether it's After Effects or we even have Simulate Scratch in here, Autodesk Flame, Blackmagic Fusion, lots of different exports here, obviously all the Nuke exports as well. And then say I also wanted to use this for a rotomat as well. What I'll do is let's hide the logo for a second. And what we're going to do is just hide this. And then I'm going to go in here, and I think Mary was talking about some of the new shape tools. So I just want to draw a little mask here. A couple cool things I could do now. We have new geometric tools. And I could just really quickly have a little garbage mat like that. And then I could link my layer 2 to layer 1 because we've already tracked this. So now we have a nice garbage mat like that. And that's the kind of idea here with we're making new tools to speed up how you create mats. Okay, so these are geometric tools. You have a X and a basically a rectangle and an ellipse. And with a shift select, when I create a ellipse, that's obviously going to lock the aspect ratio like you would expect. Now you see that these shapes, they actually convert to X splines. If you wanted to, make an ellipse that was a Bezier, you can do that. And then if you're an advanced user, you're going to understand that you can add shapes to layers, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So this is a way that we can basically do subtractions on shapes. So this is all kind of new in the Essentials panel here inside of Mocha Pro 2019. Let's just delete this stuff, these layers here. Mary, any questions at this point?
Yes. So did you go over how to affect the detail of the spline with the freehand or magnetic tool?
No, we haven't covered that, so that's a good thing. I haven't showed magnetic or freehand at all yet, so I'm going to show that next. So yeah, let's quit out of this. Again, just before I quit out, just want to again point out, I can basically export this tracking data, save it to clipboard. Again, the tracking data is that the blue box or the grid. I can also export the shape data to lots and lots of different systems, whether it's Premiere or Fusion or Flame. A lot of users ask us, can I get this data into a color grading suite? We do not yet support every system out there for the masking data, but I could also export out of Mocha Pro as a rendered shape, and I could export mats to DaVinci Resolve or to Nucoda or to someone on different color grading systems as well. So how does this relate back to my host if I'm running as a plugin? I'm just gonna save this. What's cool about this running as a plugin is that basically when I archive my project, my Adobe project, basically it's just a plugin, so everything is going to be there. Let's just give After Effects a second to catch up here. And Okay, there we go. And then as far as back in After Effects, in the plugin, there's a couple different ways to get this data out. One is I could look at the mat of my layer. Okay, so there's the mat that we created, and that's, that's nice and quick to preview there. A second thing I could do here is I could hit Create AE Masks. That basically isolates now to an animated mat. The third thing that you can do here inside of the After Effects plugin, which I think is pretty cool, is that you can now, rather than pasting the data and going back and forth between the application, you can basically have access to all your Mocha layers here. So if I hit Create Track Data and I select the layer that I want, what you're going to see is you can see I have little basically animated nulls that, and if I hit you can see all the corners there of my track data there are set. So that's another way that you can basically get the tracking data for any layer out of Mocha back to After Effects. If you're running this like in Nuke or in Avid, then there's different ways to get the tracking data. In general, it's either copy paste or it's going to be using the render modules here. Okay, and I apologize if I'm going fast. There's a lot to cover here. I'm going to jump into
Oh
the
no,
next.
we actually had somebody ask me to talk as slow as you're talking, so I think you're doing fine.
Okay. Okay, cool. So the next thing we're going to show you is a little bit of new spline tools. And everyone, lots of users have used Mocha over the years for rotoscoping. In fact, we have a lot of feature film sites that are using Mocha for like stereo conversion or doing, very in-depth articulate roto. And we've basically added new tools to improve the roto process here. So let's go again and go into our essentials mode, and I'll just start from scratch here. All right, so we'll cover a little bit of the features that Mary and I were talking about as sort of our favorite new features, which is this magnetic spline. And I'm actually using a mouse right now, and I want to show you guys the difference between when I use the mouse and the tablet as well. But you'll see here, there's a new button here next to the X-Spline button, and this is the new magnetic layer. Okay, so basically the idea is an edge snapping tool to allow artists to create shapes quicker. So if I click down with my mouse and drag, you can see, I'll go slow just so we can get the lag time. I haven't clicked again. I still haven't clicked. I'm still haven't clicked up, so it fell off. So I'm going to click, make a couple little clicks, and then just click and drag. And this is basically snapping to the edges of these objects using a little bit of luminance and edge detection. Again, a couple clicks, but you'll see that as I mouse over the apple that I'm, with a right click, I'll just kind of show you guys there. I just closed the shape, and let's just switch over to the full view, because then I have access to some of these other things. Like, so I basically isolate the shape very quickly, and then obviously, start my track so I can start tracking. The idea here is this, using magnetic tools, is that the artist can draw a shape and isolate that shape very, very quickly without having to think about the actual clicks and that kind of thing. But it was very, very important for us as we were designing this that we wanted to retain vector, because I know a lot of people might use different roto tools or techniques, whether it's keying or using the roto brush. But the issue with a lot of techniques is that the shape actually, once you go down a path, if you lose the ability on some edges to make changes, you're kind of paint yourself into a corner. And our idea behind the magnetic spline tools is to really allow the artist to make decisions. So I'm gonna grab my Wacom tablet here. So now I have a tablet. Let's just delete this. And what you're gonna see is a slightly different kind of behavior, but still very, very organic. I'm going to kind of think about, like, say I want to make a mask around this grape here, okay? This is like a kind of area that would be difficult to do with the roto brush, for example. I'm gonna click down on the magnetic brush and just kind of show you the way this works. Now, if I mouse over, as soon as I go off screen, or into a freehand concept, then back to our magnetic. So let's just do that again here on this one over here. Again, I'm just like, I haven't clicked, I'm just really just tracing the object. As soon as I go off screen, I click and drag, and I'm back into a between freehand and magnetic. And I think that is very, very cool. One of the questions that Mary did ask, and sorry, it took a long time to get there, Mary, but here I am,
Okay.
is how does this magnetic spline tool actually convert and create to X splines? Okay, so what you do is if I've created a shape, okay, you'll see a detail mode there, which is when I have that shape selected, and I can dial this up or down. If I take what the default right now, we have it set to 90, make it 20, you're going to see what it did is it simplified this shape. Let's bring it up to like 50. Okay, so that's really how many points the we call it a spline fitting algorithm, and it's basically taking a magnetic shape and converting it to our spline format and how many actual anchor points that it's creating.
Ross, are you using a tablet, a mouse, or trackball mouse?
Yeah, right now I'm using a tablet. I thought I made it pretty clear, but that's cool. Some people might not get it, or also I understand that there's a lag between the questions sometimes. Right now I am
Sure.
using a Wacom tablet. And what's really neat about this is, again, I'm going to just kind of do this on this close up here. I'm going to click down, and right now as I mouse across the edges, I haven't clicked, it's finding the edges. And if I wanted to make an attack point, I simply just, here, let's undo that, it was a bad one. I'll go in, if I want to make an attack point here, you basically click to add a attack point, which is essentially a control point. What I find very nice about this magnetic tool is basically the way you can kind of jump between the freehand and the magnetic. I keep talking about freehand, so I just want to show you guys what the freehand tool does. Let's delete these points. Let's kind of zoom out a little bit. On the freehand tool, if I change the magnetic to the freehand, this is exactly what it is. It's a freehand shape tool. Right click to close. What I personally love about this is the ability, say I'm in a color grading session, and obviously this green and this green here between the apple and the eggplant, or aubergine if you're in Europe, is that I could very quickly just make a garbage mat just by clicking and dragging, and it's going to convert it to a spline. And I think that's just a super cool way. Obviously I haven't even tracked, but if I just want to create a bunch of quick rough garbage mats using this kind of technique here with these freehand masks, and then go ahead and track them all at the same time, that's really not a problem. I'll show you another kind of interesting idea about the freehand tool as well. How's it going, Mary?
I'm just typing away madly.
Okay.
But it's going pretty good. We had a question about splines and how they export to After Effects, for instance. So, and I brought up that, well, we only have one outer spline. We don't have an inner spline. And when you want to copy those to After Effects, you can either apply them right in the plugin by using the Apply Matte tool, or you can apply them as an effect if you want to keep that feathering. But if you want to paste in the spline itself, no, it will not respect the edge feathering.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, I'll just give you a quick visual way that we can talk about that. Without any tracking, let's just do this on the first frame here, right? What we're going to do is use our magnetic brush again, just to quickly, trace this apple here. Kind of rough it out, but that's kind of. But you guys have an understanding of the speed there, and obviously we've created a mask for this apple there, right? And then just so we can really demonstrate, I'm also going to pull out the edge of this side. Say it had some motion blur, and you guys
Can you also actually add motion blur to it to show how to do that as well?
Sure. I mean, you could turn on the motion blur right here in the edge properties as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the difference between edge blur or if I've tracked this object and we want it actually to calculate like realistic motion blur on the object edges itself globally, then that's this motion blur right down here. So without tracking, what we're going to do is just save this. And then I just want to show you the differences. Basically, if I go to module renders here and just, if I go to the mat here and look at the mat, you're going to see that this is actually the way we would get the mask out with Mocha's variable edge feathering. And in fact, using this view mat controls here, this sort of supersedes the Mocha shape plugin. You don't really need that. Don't need to paste as a Mocha shape plugin. It's essentially the same concept here. You just use your Mocha plugin to get out as a feathered mat. Like Mary said, if I just want the AE masks, when I hit create AE masks, then you'll see that we didn't track that. You'll see that we've converted now to an AE mask, and any feathering that I wanted to do is going to be, let's hit MM for feather, is going to be like kind of global there. So that's kind of the real difference of getting your mask data out. And then lastly, just to reiterate that, this mask data can be rendered to export shapes. It could also be exported out to, almost any system, popular systems like Nuke, things like that. On the high-end system, we can even export out our roto data as a silhouette project. Just to note that that only happens with the Mocha standalone, not with the plugin. Another popular workflow is to support Flame Artists with the Gmask script, or even to get the mask data into Premiere. So that's a really nice thing for color correction. You're doing your Lumetri color grading in Premiere. Premiere obviously has some great masking tools, but not as articulate or unlimited masking capabilities as Mocha has. So Mocha for Premiere artists, editors is a great workflow. For time's sake, I'm just going to kind of jump into another quick thing, but I did want to show you in this example how I might use the freehand tools just to kind of speed up my workflow. Let's again, we're going to take this particular shape, which if I scrub through this here in After Effects, hopefully you guys can see this is not the easiest screen track, because we have a foreground person who's looking at a monitor, but there's actually all this kind of like out of focus I think it's some kind of material that was out of focus in front of the screen itself. I don't know if it's someone's arm or what, but these are the kind of things that would be difficult to track using the most traditional point trackers. And I'll just give you a quick idea how we would solve this in Mocha Pro 2019. We're going to apply it. Again, if we're getting from scratch, we'll apply it right here under the Boris Effects Mocha folder. We're just going to launch it. And if you've used Mocha a lot, and what you're going to do is kind of scrub through your timeline and find some areas that are pretty consistent through the shot. But I don't want to track the screen. I don't want to track the person. I don't want to track any of this kind of out of focus stuff here. I could, in the old style, if you're running Mocha 5 or Mocha AE, I could do something like this and make a big search area here. I could add a X plus to make another search area here and knock out the reflection, the screen, and that kind of thing. And then you sort of see that Mocha would be doing something like that. But I just want to show you how now that Mocha 2019 is out, some cool ways, because what I want to do is I want to track the television monitor and avoid everything else on the screen. So what I might do is do something like this: is I might actually add a freehand tool and say, hey, that area right there is pretty good. Let me hide this here, right? And then with a freehand plus tool, this stuff over here is probably pretty good. Again, freehand plus, this corner edges are pretty good. This is the kind of a really neat way, just with really quick little gestural, maybe that little point is good. We've just really quickly isolated the software just to look at these areas here. So that's a really neat thing. And then let's look at our surface. Again, the surface represents the track data, using some of these tools just to expand this. maybe align it like this. And then, if you're a brand new artist, confused, again, certainly the Essentials is a great way to visualize what are you tracking and use this transform, scale, rotation, skew, perspective, like what are we actually tracking? And go ahead and let's track forwards. Hopefully you guys can see there that we're gonna get a good track, even though, there's a foreground obscured area. There's all kinds of weird, out of focus stuff that's happening with this area in front of the screen. Traditional point trackers, we wouldn't have all the, certainly the upper left and the bottom left are not even on screen. Just let that go a couple more frames. We're avoiding all the, the motion that's happening in the screen itself because we just want to track just these static areas that are on the monitor itself, and let that go a little bit. But I think that's kind of a neat example using the Freehand tool, how we can sort of solve a relatively complex track quickly. Of course, I could go in here and adjust these after the fact, use the tools like that. And yeah, so that's kind of a neat thing. And then, if we quit out of here, again, go into our tracking data, and then we could just hit create tracking data. Boom, and then you're gonna have your tracking data like that. You could also hit this button right here, apply tracking data. So I could drop another layer like a screen insert and just hit apply, and it could automatically apply this. So it's just kind of like new, quicker ways to work here with Mocha 2019. All right, so Mary, I think we've covered a little bit of spline and tracking, and how are we doing for time here?
Well, we are at 10:36. So
Okay, so a couple more examples that I want to show you, and definitely happy to take some questions. If you just joined the webinar, just want to mention that yes, the webinar is being recorded. We're going to share this. I just also really would love to encourage you guys, anyone who's here, if you have feature requests, if you just want to chat with us, we have pretty active presence on Facebook. There's actually a Mocha Pro, Mocha VR users group, or group on Facebook. We also have forums on the Boris website, and that's a great way to log feature requests as well.
I do want to ask you one question before you move on real quick.
Sure.
We had a user ask, will any of these new features and the workspaces make their way into Mocha AE? And I figured I'd let you answer that question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that Adobe actually pre-announced at IBC that some of the features, basically the Mocha AE that is shipped with After Effects is going to be updated in very soon. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what those features are here. Let's go to the Essentials mode for a second. So again, this new Essentials mode, which is this very stripped down view, Essentials mode is going to make it to the next version of After Effects. We're super excited about that. And really, this is a great thing about this. What's happening right now is that there's going to be parity, meaning what ships with After Effects and Mocha 2019 is going to be essentially built off the same code base. So there's lots of great parity between the two. So Essentials mode will make it into After Effects. Also, the geometric shapes will. The magnetic tools will not be included into After Effects, as well as obviously, when I go to export tracking data and all the different hosts, After Effects will only export to After Effects, whereas Mocha Pro will export to many, many other systems. So the main thing that you're going to get is the Essentials mode, the ability to run as a plugin inside of After Effects. And that's actually a huge thing if you're not aware that running as a plugin solves a lot of host issues with media. In fact, for high resolution media, I could actually res down. I'll show you that when we get into a higher res clip. But because we're just running as a simple plugin inside of After Effects, and Mocha AE, the new one that ships, will be the plugin version, then we can basically, any format that the Adobe Media Engine supports, then we can bring into Mocha. Now, go ahead.
I was gonna say, all right, thank you.
Sure. Along those lines, I just also want to point out that I am running, Mocha Pro 2019, and you're going to see that all these modules down here at the bottom, these are also a big difference between Mocha AE and Mocha Pro. And if you remember at the beginning of the webinar, I showed that compare chart, and maybe Mary or Jesse can paste that again for those who have missed it. We have a compare chart that will show you the differences between Mocha AE and Mocha Pro on our website. So one of the really cool features in Mocha Pro is the remove module. And if you've seen our demos, this is a very, very powerful tool that can save a lot of time. And I think there's actually a tutorial on the website, so I'm not going to go through exactly how this works, but essentially you set up multiple layers in Mocha Pro. So I have a layer here, which is layer 2, which is on the top layer. That's a little garbage mat for this car. And then we have a layer that's been tracked for this road here. And if you want to visualize the plane of the road, it's kind of something like that. Not necessary, but certainly helpful to visualize. So we have 2 layers that have both already been tracked, and that's why on the interface on the timeline it's blue, right? So we've already know that it's been tracked. So I'm going to go into the remove module here, and it's analyzing frames before and frames after. And what we're going to do is hit render. And you'll see that the remove module now, if you can see in the upper right-hand corner, it's using GPU. Hopefully the speed there is on the video recording is showing you. This is it's actually rendering a couple of frames per second here on an HD clip to automatically remove this. And it's analyzing all those frames, and this is a huge feature of Mocha Pro is this remove tool, and it's such a time saver. Mary and I have both done lots of paint and clone and removing objects over the years in lots of different hosts, and it's painful. It's not fun. So this saves a huge amount of time. In the remove module, we have something called illumination modeling. What this does is it applies a luminance pass and analysis to the clip. So let's just go ahead and render this. And this is also, I'm getting almost the same exact performance, but it's doing a better quality remove because it will basically analyze the luminance as well. So if you've ever done clean plating and patching, and then you have to go back and do little passes of color correction to when an object is removed, that is a huge feature. So I'm just kind of scrubbing through that area up here, that didn't have the luminance, but here's the before, and here is the after. Using GPU accelerator remove, a lot of people are gonna be asking this, Mary. I don't know if they're asking. They're gonna be asking, what kind of laptop, or what kind of hardware am I running on?
Yeah.
Or what kind of hardware do we recommend? I happen to be running on a Dell Precision laptop, which is a really strong, workstation quality laptop. Just want to show you, if I go to my preferences here, there's a little GPU preference here, and I'm running, this is a NVIDIA Quadro P5000, so it's getting, really nice performance even off this laptop. Want to point out that our remove module, the acceleration that we're using for both GPU and for planar tracking, it's OpenCL accelerated. So it's not using CUDA, it's using OpenCL. That's why in some ways you'll get good performance on Macs as well. And it's also very flexible using OpenCL, so it's not specific to just one particular brand of video processing cards. We also have a video that Martin Brennan, our product manager, created, which is on our website now, which he did a comparison between version 5, version 2019 with GPU and without GPU, and we've seen really drastic speed performances. Questions up to here, Mary?
Yeah, I'm answering them all. Let's see. basically,
I can
yeah.
keep going.
Do you want to talk? Did you talk a little bit about how the remove works, like what it's doing?
Yeah, I mean, we could both talk about that. And basically what the remove is doing. Let's think about this as I zoom into this shot a little bit here. Okay, here I'm on this one particular frame, and think about that. On this frame, the car is in the frame, right? I happen to be on, let's see, on frame 135 here on my timeline. Okay, if we scroll the timeline, but without moving our view, on frame 187, about 30 frames after, the clean pixels of the road where the car was, they exist. They exist in time, right? We
Right.
call this a temporal removal. They also exist before in time. Okay, so people call this different things. I call it temporal removal. Some people call it motion keying. What's interesting is that Mocha has an intelligence to use the pixels in time, even though they might not be in the exact position, and that is all based on the planar tracker. So it's a combination of many things that's happening at once. We're using planar tracking on 2 layers, one for positional data, one as garbage mat data. And then we're basically, as long as the layers are set up correctly, we're analyzing frames before and frames after in time to get a clean plate. As long as the frames exist, we can typically get a pretty good remove going. But say I wanted to remove a boat over this stream, that's going to be a little bit trickier because the stream is organic, right? Every single pixel is a little different, whereas the road is rigid and the pixels are not changing that much over time.
Yeah, if
Um,
you're going to remove it off the stream, your better bet would be using a roto shape and then cloning a different part of the screen and moving it over that.
yeah, exactly. And lots of artists have different techniques. And sometimes, I think I find that I might get the remove module helps me maybe 85% of the way there. And then I still might do some cloning and offsets and things like that a typical editor or compositor might do. But what you're going to find is once you get your head around this, you could save hours and hours of time. So hopefully that was a useful explanation of the remove tool. I'm going to jump ahead and talk a little bit more about remove, but we're also going to look at a little bit of 360 VR here as well. Let's let After Effects catch up here.
While you're doing that, waiting for After Effects to catch up, can you talk a little bit about auto step and remove to speed up your removes?
Yeah, we'll do that when we get into this next example here. Sorry, let me see the GPU. Let's see. All right, we're going to look at this shot here, okay, which is a shot that is a stereoscopic 360 shot. If anyone has not used this format before, what you're seeing is the image on the top is the left eye. The image on the bottom is the right eye. There's actually a dancer who comes into the screen right there, back there. And here, I'll make this a little bigger so you guys can see it inside of Adobe. Okay. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to apply Mocha as a plugin. Again, this will take the place of Mocha VR if you're running Mocha VR. I also do want to point out, though, for you VR enthusiasts there, that if you've restored, if you upgrade right now and you have a project in there that this Mocha VR legacy will be applied rather than Mocha Pro. But for all new projects, you would just use the Mocha Pro plugin, and it's set to top bottom. Okay. And the reason for this is that we've actually have great stereo tools inside of Mocha. We've had them for a long time. So let's go ahead and launch this and talk a little bit more about 360 video. And I'll definitely come back to that step question, Mary, in a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
For people who have not seen the 360 tools in Mocha VR. They're very, very impressive, and especially if you're working in stereo, because it adds a lot of value to some of the hosts that don't do that much with stereo. First thing is that you have a little 360 viewer here. And if I click and hold down, you can see I have some shortcuts there, and those are mappable to the keyboard. So, you know, if I look at the nadir at the bottom, that's the bottom. Let's zoom out. So that's basically like a flattened view, or if I hold on the X key, essentially, and pan around here, do it slowly so you guys can sort of see. Sort of think of this as essentially like our headset view. You know, if we had a 360 headset on, or if we're just scrolling around in a 360 player, you know, Facebook 360 or YouTube 360, you know, essentially that kind of thing. So, you know, maybe our field of view would be something like, you know, something like this, and we could be seeing this dancer, right? She's doing something like that. We could look behind ourselves. We could look up all over the kind of place. I'd much rather work in this kind of view than in our, you know, distorted view of the equirectangular. Another thing I want to point out when you're working in stereo with Mocha's tools is you have a left and a right view. This is extremely important because, you know, if we zoom into this actor's face here, this is actually a compressed, I think it's about 3K proxy, but you know, Mocha's always been resolution independent. We have customers working at 8K, as well as frame rate independent. You can see here's the left view and the right view. And if I click this button, this is an anaglyph view. In fact, we even, back in the day, it's not many vendors are making them, we even support active 360, active stereo monitors. But the anaglyph is a great way that I, as an artist, might just throw on some old-fashioned anaglyph 3D glasses, and I could be seeing the stereo here, but difference between the left and the right. So a really, really unique thing about the way we work inside of stereo projects here inside of Mocha, and this will even work with any of our new tools. So whether it's you know, our new geometric tools or our freehand spline tool, magnetic tool. Whoops, let me undo that and just do a little quick spline, just kind of something really rough. So I want to do mask her shape, her face. Now, if we look at our left view, this is disparity, okay? And this is really like the difference between the left eye and the right eye. The more disparity between here, the more she's going to kind of pop off the screen as I have a headset, you know, that kind of thing. Now, to rotoscope or to do tracking on stereo is very, very difficult. If I'm doing this inside of like Adobe After Effects, I'm going to actually just do all my work on the left eye and then copy it over to the right eye. That's, you know, it's a useful workflow, but we have a really unique way of working here where this button here is actually going to track both eyes. So I track forward here. And just gonna let this go a couple frames. What's it actually doing, it's calculating the disparity in every single frame between the left and the right eye. And it becomes a stereoscopic masking and tracking tool, or even object removal. Everything that we can do in Mocha, we can do in stereo. Let's just stop that. So we've done a couple frames here. Obviously, you can see that that our actress has been isolated. We could obviously tweak that as much as we wanted, but I just want to show you we've tweaked that on the left view. If we look at the right view, it's actually calculated the stereo. So if I go back and forth, or even back to my let's hide this. If I go to our anaglyph view and switch between left and right, so that's a very, very powerful way to work. And if we save this and we look at our mat, what you're going to see is, well, it's very, very small, but you can see our mask for the woman's face is actually in the left and the right view. So Mocha as a masking tool for color correction and visual effects on 360 post, very, very powerful, but also quite unique that this tool will run as a plugin inside of almost any host. So it really becomes sort of like this universal cross-platform stereoscopic 360 tool. Let's jump back into there because I want to show you another thing. We were talking about object removal, long detour, but we'll get back there. And very, very common is in 360 projects is to patch and remove the nadir. So if we look down here at the nadir here, this is actually shot with a Google Jump camera. And so the Google Jump format there in stereo, it doesn't even capture, it does this kind of weird smeary blurred kind of thing there at the nadir. So what we want to do is use the remove module to remove the camera. And the way this works is very similar to that shot that I showed you with the car. This has already been kind of, I like to use Mary's analogy, baked that cake, right? That's what you say, Mary?
Yeah, I have already baked that cake for
I've
you.
already baked this cake, but yeah, so let me see what happened there. Sorry. We might have had a little, might have had a technical hiccup. Let's see if I can get back into this without.
I mean, it wouldn't be a demo if we didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, let's see. I'm actually, because of have the tablet, I have GoToWebinar. I have quite a lot going on, so that's probably one of the reasons. Just see if I can get this to come back, or we might have to jump back in.
Hey Ross, does the new Mocha plugin work in Vegas?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
We do support Vegas Pro. I think there might have been one small sort of issue. I'll have to get back to you on that, but let's try to force a quit here. Sorry about that, guys. Again, let's see here. All right, we're gonna just launch After Effects, but yeah, we do support Vegas Pro with, sorry, not Vegas, Magic's, it is Vegas, Magic's Vegas Pro, it's not Sony anymore. We do support them as an OFX plugin, yeah. Again, for OFX, that what we currently support, we support Nuke, we support Fusion as a standalone application. A lot of customers I know are very interested in in having Mocha Pro inside of Resolve. Some of the features actually work, but we don't say that we officially support it because the remove module, it does not work inside of Resolve. We've talked to the Resolve team about this. It's something that they're aware of, and you know, they need to make some changes to their OFX support to allow us to, you know, actually have access to temporal frames. So that's why one of the reasons we say we don't officially run inside of DaVinci Resolve, but I do know some artists who are using it. Also to mention that the Mocha that is found inside of Sapphire and inside of Boris Continuum, that does run inside of Resolve. So for just masking or to isolate effects, that's another great way for Resolve users to access the Mocha tools. All right, so just jumping back into our example. Sorry about that crash, folks, and thank you for hanging with me on here. What we've done is essentially we have, again, we're going to look down here at our nadir. Okay, what we've done is we've baked that cake, which means we've tracked the background, and we have a garbage mat. You can see there's a little bit of feathered edge on the garbage mat. We have a garbage mat for the camera area here, and we're going to pull clean frames from before and after. Okay, in the remove module, we have the ability to analyze frames before and after. We also have a feature here called auto step. The idea behind auto step is how many frames, you know, if I have this set to 100, it's going to analyze 100 frames before and 100 frames after. I typically would scroll through here and get a sense of, like, you know, how many frames do we think that the, you know, there's clean areas up here or there. You know, you do not, a huge gotcha in Mocha working in a 360 project is to leave this set to many, many frames because it's going to analyze, you know, as many frames as you tell it. Auto step is going to, it's basically going to skip frames. So, you know, if I, you know, want to set this to look every 5 frames, that's going to do a quicker remove. So that's basically what auto step does. The step property itself, auto step, again, is gonna, the software tries to figure out how many frames it actually needs to step through and calculate that for you. I have a clean plate in here, so give you an example of a render time here. Using linear, just let that go. And this is about almost 4K proxy 360 stereo VR. And you can see I'm still getting very, very good performance here on this laptop. Again, because you're working in stereo, everything that I've done on the left eye is on the right eye is calculated properly. So that is also going to be in the correct disparity. And this is just a huge, huge feature for anyone who's doing visual effects or doing 360 work to remove the cameras. So that's that. Any questions about that?
Not right now.
Okay, I'm going to close this and just show you the way you would get this out. You know, I could essentially, if I'm running the standalone of Mocha, I could render out my removes and export to any footage, or any of the modules that you're doing inside of the plugin. You would just then tell it to render here inside the plugin. So I could, you know, tell this to render, and what it's going to do is After Effects or whichever host you're on is going to try to render that there, so you get a quick idea. There's the before and there's the after, where we've patched out and removed this here. So really, really cool feature. So everyone's sticking with me. We've gone up to an hour, and you know, I really appreciate that you guys are staying around here. There's so much more I could cover, but I think that because of time, we're going to have to leave it at that. And I know you guys are all in the middle of your work days. So just to reiterate for those who have not, might have just joined us, a couple quick housekeeping things, and then I'm sure many people are waiting for the prizes. But let's just go, just want to reiterate, whoop, not that one. Let's just reiterate a couple things here. Okay, so I just want to mention, you know, again, we have these awesome prizes Jesse is going to mention. I'd really like to thank our sponsors or our friends for donating these prizes. We do have the coupon code in the shop that will be good for the month. Last thing I just want to mention is if you own Mocha Pro 5 or Mocha VR and you purchased it within the last year, you will get this upgrade for free. But I do ask you guys to be patient. These will be delivered from our team automatically, and you should be seeing these over the next week or two. If you need to get these new features immediately, call us. If you are working with a sales rep, contact your sales rep. They can help you out there. The software is available as an upgrade if you don't own it or if you have older versions. And there's lots of good information there under an FAQ. If you guys can see this, this first link, it covers a lot of the issues that people, a lot of the most frequent asked questions about the upgrade. So that's it for me. It's a lot of talking, lots of stuff to show. Mary, hopefully that, I know you've been very busy head down answering questions for the last hour.
Oh yeah, I mean there are a lot of good questions actually, and I've been doing my best to answer them in a timely manner and also pay attention to what you're doing enough to go back and forth. But it's people have had some really good questions.
Okay, well, hopefully you guys are excited, as excited as Mary and I are about the new tools. You know, we've had a lot of great feedback so far, and if there are things that we have added in this release that you know, or things that you'd like to see added that we haven't added, please contact us and use the forums. And we're always looking to improve the software. So thanks again for your time, Jesse. I'll let you jump on.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so here are the winners for the one-year subscriptions to all of our prizes. Congratulations to Carlton Moss, who has won the one-year subscription to the Foundry Production Collective. Congratulations to Beth Moran, who has won the one-year subscription to Avid Media Composer. Congratulations to Joseph Oxford, who has won the one-year Mystica VR subscription. Congratulations to Samir Ansari, who has won the Boris FX Suite one-year subscription. And congratulations to Babe Foreman, Damon Tai, Sarah Poli, Cesar Vargas, and Sam Zimmon, who have all won $200 gift certificates to Action VFX. I'm going to be sending you guys all emails shortly. So congratulations to everyone. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse, and thank you, Mary. And, enjoy your Mocha 2019.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.